The long-awaited AirPods Max. These headphones are troublemakers, and this is how I'm summing them up. Troublemakers. Hey guys, this is going to be slightly different and more opinionated than my regular reviews, but I think such a product warrants that. Before I tell you why these are troublemakers, which I've divided up into 10 reasons, the first 5 being positive and the following 5 not too positive, and we will end the review with my typical call quality test in both a quiet and a noisy environment. But before all that, here's a quick unboxing. Now let's get to why these are troublemakers, because Apple managed to create some kind of dichotomy in the world of ANC headphones. For me at least, there's now a before AirPods Max and an after AirPods Max, and they're both very distinct. You'll understand what I mean in just a bit, and I'll tell you why I see it as such by sharing the different experiences I had listening to these. So let's get started. Reason number 1 why they are troublemakers. Prior to the AirPods Max, the Bose 700 were my favorite noise cancelling headphones. And when I first unboxed them, I was quite impressed with their design, the quality of the material used, and the look and feel. That was pre-AirPods Max. Then I took the AirPods Max out of the box and I was quite impressed with their design, the quality of the material used, and the look and feel as well. But at that point, I completely forgot about the Bose or my experience with those. So I used the AirPods Max for a while, and then I want to compare to the Bose. So I take these off, I grab these, I look at them, and I think to myself, wow, these look cheap. Just like that, AirPods Max obliterated my perception of my favorite pair of noise cancelling headphones. And I never thought that something would come along to take away how I felt about the Bose 700's design, but they did. On design and interface, the decision to have a digital crown instead of touch gestures was also a good one. The crown is far more accurate than touch controls, you can use it with gloves, and it gives you precision to accurately increase or decrease your volume by small increments, which is nice to have. I would have liked to have some haptic feedback on the crown to give us a more tactile experience like they introduced with the Apple Watch Series 4. I find it sometimes too smooth, and double pressing it to skip a song just sometimes turns it a bit and increases or decreases the volume, but I guess we need to get used to that, and it's definitely not a major issue at all. Reason number 2 why they are troublemakers: sound quality. Just like they did with their design and material, they did the same with sound quality. What I previously thought was pretty decent sounding headphones were now dull, flat, and just lifeless compared to the AirPods Max. Of course, here I'm comparing to the Bose 700 or the Sony XM4, headphones in that price range. And yes, maybe it's not fair to compare them to the AirPods Max because, well, the AirPods Max are at least $200 more expensive. But nonetheless, they truly do sound spectacular. Refined, rich sound with a fantastic soundstage, completely immersive, and just a pleasure to listen to. And back to them being troublemakers, I can no longer listen to music on my favorite headphones with the same level of satisfaction that I had pre-AirPods Max. They seriously ruined them for me. Spatial audio is nice and impressive on the AirPods Pro, and it's even more so here with the larger drivers. Watching bits of Tom Hanks' Greyhound on Apple TV, and it was truly an immersive experience. In the fighting scenes, you could hear decent thumping bass with explosions, and it was fun to experience that with just regular stereo headphones. Of course, it doesn't match a true 7.1 or even a 5.1 channel surround system, but it's still an impressive immersive experience that mimics true surround sound quite well. The problem with that is, aside from content being somewhat limited, to date, spatial audio only works on your iPhone or iPad, and unless I'm traveling, which none of us are doing at the moment, I don't generally watch movies on such a small screen. Would have been nice if Apple TV supported that, but as of this moment, it does not. And until it does, if it does that is, this remains a nice gimmick with limited use cases. Reason number 3, transparency mode. I have another story here, similar to what they did to my Bose 700s with the sound quality. They did to my AirPods Pro with transparency, which pre-AirPods Max had my favorite and most natural transparency mode. And the story is, before my AirPods Pro, I had the Jabra Elite 65Ts. They were a decent pair of earbuds and also had hear-through mode, or what Apple calls transparency mode, which I thought was neat, and I really appreciated that feature, especially when I was on a bike or walking around busy city streets. But then when I first put on the AirPods Pro, I was astonished at how much better the transparency mode was, how much more natural it sounded and just more pleasant. And for me, that was the best transparency mode I've heard. I've been using the AirPods Pro a little over a year now. I still love their transparency mode until I put on the AirPods Max. And their transparency mode was just magically better. And it reminded me of that Jabra experience, that significant jump in the quality of transparency mode that I experienced between the Jabras and the AirPods Pro. That shock that I had, I just experienced it again, only now the AirPods Pro became the terrible sounding ones and the AirPods Max became the wow sounding ones. Okay, the transparency mode on the AirPods Pro is not terrible sounding in all fairness. It still sounds really good, but in comparison to the AirPods Max, that's what they felt like. The AirPods Max are just so much better. It truly feels like you're not wearing anything. So, yet again, they ruined transparency mode on my AirPods Pro. Which brings me to reason number 4 why they're troublemakers. Some headsets, like the Bose 700, have a self-voice which lets you hear your own voice when you're speaking on the phone, which I find essential. Just imagine blocking your ears and speaking. That doesn't sound too good. So I was really fond of how Bose implemented that on the 700 and I thought it was pretty good. Well, guess what? Because the transparency mode on the AirPods Max is so good, when you're talking on the phone, you hear yourself so naturally that now talking on the Bose 700s, even with the self-voice on high, which I thought was excellent pre-AirPods Max, now post-AirPods Max seems so unnatural and muffled. So yeah, they've ruined that as well. Reason number 5 is noise cancellation, which I also thought was pretty impressive. I did not have the opportunity to thoroughly test them, particularly on a plane, because you know why, but from my initial tests, they seem to be on par with the Sony XM4 and the Bose 700, if not potentially better in some situations. And that's not an easy feat to achieve. Bose has spent decades perfecting active noise cancellation, and Sony had several iterations of their headphones with noise cancellation before they reached their current market-leading level. Apple first introduced it with their AirPods Pro last year, which was impressive, but these were earbuds, so they had limitations. Their first attempt with headphones was with the AirPods Max, and they hit the ground running. They did a marvelous job with just take one. So the AirPods Max were positive troublemakers in the last 5 reasons. The following 5 are not. Reason number 6 why they're troublemakers, their price. And that's troubling for me. $550 or even 630 euros in Europe. That is equivalent of $770 US at today's exchange rate. I really don't know how Apple intended to position these. They're not in the same price range as the top noise cancelling headphones in the market today. They're at least a good $200 more expensive, but they're also not audiophile headphones. So what are they exactly? Who's their target market? And I really don't know. They're too expensive to be commercial, but they're also not quite the high-end audiophile headphones, especially with the lack of support of high-res audio codecs. Yes, I know you always pay a premium price with any Apple product, but in my opinion, this premium is just way too much in this instance. And Apple is pushing the limit of what is an acceptable premium to pay for one to own a product with the Apple logo. But it doesn't matter what I think if these sell well, and they might already be selling well. In many countries, delivery is pushed to March. So this means people are willing to buy them at that price point, which means maybe Apple was not wrong. Time will tell, I guess. Reason number 7 is this thing over here. Apple calls it a smart case. I see nothing smart and nothing case about this. Seriously, Apple, what were you thinking? First of all, it looks like my grandma's bra. Second of all, last time I checked, a case is supposed to protect what's inside it. The only protection this might offer, and I say might because even that is questionable, is to arguably the toughest part of the entire headphones. These anodized aluminum ear cups. What about the mesh canopy? I fear with simple normal use, not even lugging it around, this might tear eventually and probably cost an arm and leg to replace, if at all it is replaceable. And that's just with normal wear and tear. I wouldn't dare transport this in a bag or a suitcase just like that. And then the bottoms are open, the top is open, so even the ear cups could be scratched. So seriously, Apple, what were you thinking? Reason number 8, comfort and weight. Stainless steel and aluminum are aesthetically amazing, but they come at a price. They're heavy. There's a reason headphone manufacturers often resort to plastic. Not because it's pretty, but because it's lightweight, and humans generally don't like to have a pile of bricks on their heads. At 385 grams, these are a good 130 grams heavier than the Sony or the Bose. The fancy mesh canopy is supposed to distribute the weight to mitigate the effect of all the heftiness, and to some degree it works, but after some time I do get some fatigue. The ear cups have a tight clamp as well, probably to maintain a good seal for the noise cancellation, but that also gets painful with extended wear. Heads come in different shapes and sizes, so your experience might vary, but for me at least, these were not particularly comfortable. Especially if, like me, you wear eyeglasses. After less than an hour of wearing them, I felt pain and discomfort and had to continuously try to reposition them to find a less painful way of wearing them. That is not something I want to be doing with a $550 pair of headphones, no matter how pretty they look. Reason number 9, there's no power button. I get that Apple is all for simplicity and ease of use, and I love that, but oversimplifying, that I am not a fan of. Now, we thought this was an even bigger problem than it turned out to be, because Apple initially said, or subtly alluded to, the fact that these enter deep sleep when you put them in the case. And that was all they said. While they did not explicitly say this is the only way to put them in deep sleep, any normal, rational thinking human being would assume it is. And that's a problem. I really don't want to stuff them in my grandma's bra every time I take them off, but if I don't, there's no way to turn them off manually or force them to go to sleep, so then watch the battery drain away. And there was a lot of heated debates on that until Apple recently broke their silence and clarified that putting them in the case triggers low power mode, but so does leaving them off and stationary for 5 minutes. There's a deeper ultra-low power mode which turns off Bluetooth and Find My to further preserve battery, but this is triggered after 72 stationary hours outside the case and only 18 hours inside the case. So, okay, crisis semi-averted. I still would have preferred a power button to manually turn them off when I want to, and Apple could have been clearer from the start with the whole low power vagueness. Reason number 10 why these are troublemakers. 3.5mm jack, or lack thereof. I think only Apple would dare to have headphones without a headphone jack. That's ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous, if you want to plug them in a plane's in-flight entertainment system, where that's usually one of the best use cases of noise cancelling headphones, you need to purchase a Lightning to 3.5mm cable for $35. Yep, You just paid Apple $550 for headphones without a headphone jack and must now pay Apple another $35 for that. I am sorry, Apple, but that is just cruel. Now let's hear how they sound like. So this is what the AirPods Max sound like in a quiet environment. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Now let's see what they sound like in a simulated noisy environment. So this is what they sound like in a simulated noisy environment. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Just to give you an idea of how loud the simulated noisy environment is, this is what it sounds like when I use the camera's built-in microphone. That is pretty loud. And now let's see how they fare against a hairdryer. This is an audio test of the AirPods Max in a noisy environment with the hairdryer on. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Also, to give you an idea on how loud this hairdryer is, I'm going to switch to the camera's built-in microphone. That is pretty loud. So, now for my final thoughts on the AirPods Max. It is hard to give a conclusion on a product like this. It's like a love-hate relationship, but I think my scales are tipping towards the hate part for only one sole reason, and that is price. All in all, are they a marvel to hold, to touch, and more importantly, to listen to? Absolutely. Are they worth the preposterous price? Absolutely not. You might disagree, but that's my opinion, at least in terms of value for money. You know, if they were $50 more expensive than the Sony XM4 or the Bose 700, this would have been a completely different story. Even $100 more expensive, which is a lot more and probably not justifiable, but I could probably digest that. But at close to $200 more expensive, actually even more, because the Sonys are often discounted to about $280. So if you want to add the Lightning to 3.5mm cable, would make the AirPods Max over $300 more expensive. That is too much. They are better, but most definitely not $300 better or even $200 better. So if you're looking for value for money, you're not getting it here. Look at the Bose 700 or the Sony XM4, I would recommend. But if you're either a diehard Apple fan or have the cash to burn, then by all means go and get them, because at the end of the day, they do make the reigning kings of this category look like toys. So that's it for my thoughts on the AirPods Max. Let me know in the comments section below what you think. And as always, if you've liked this review, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more of this content, please subscribe to my channel, as this would encourage me to continue producing such content. Until next time, cheers.